All right, hello everybody. How's it going? So right now I'm going to be telling you guys another one-take story of my time spent in Guatemala, I guess part two, up in Flores, doing some trekking at El Mirador and seeing Tikal, and just hanging out for a week, spending some time away from the computers and just chilling out. So I guess I'll start by saying I got into Flores here after taking a night bus, and classic travel story. You get off the bus and everyone's like, taxi, 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 official, taxi. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, okay, get off my back. It's 5:30 in the morning. I thought I was going to get in at 8:30 and get some more sleep. And so eventually they were like, how much? I was like, 25, 15, 20. I was like, this is crazy. So they were like 15 quetzales or whatever is the local currency, and off I went to this taxi, and he was like official taxi driver, and I get to the car and it's like this totally shady, shitty car, and I'm pretty tired, and I was like, you know what, like I'm just gonna wait for my friends. I saw two other travelers on the bus, and I thought maybe like I could find them and figure out how to get to Flores. It was only like 2 kilometers away from Santa Elena where the actual bus came in to get to the hostel area on this little island. So I was like, you know what, I'll just wait, and then I saw a tuk-tuk after about a minute or two, and it parked out front, and then this taxi driver had one of his friends get in the car, and he left, and I went over to the tuk-tuk driver, and I said, hey, 10 quetzales to Flores. He was like, yep, sounds good. I was like, great. So they started off at, 35 quetzales. A couple guys agreed on 25. One guy was going to give me 15, and I was like, got down to 10 with a tuk-tuk. So I was like, yeah, just get me there. Got over to the island and checked into a hostel. And by the time I had checked in, basically that day, the whole day I was just spent there looking for a trek to do. I was planning on doing a 6-day trek out to El Mirador. El Mirador is the largest Mayan city complex that exists and has been discovered in the El Mirador Basin, northern Guatemala here, and I wanted to go check it out. A lot of it has been undiscovered or unrecreated, I would say, or undigged, and so I really thought that would be a cool experience to do for 5 days, and obviously get some trekking done in the jungle, and then spend a few days in Tikal. So I booked a tour from the Los Amigos hostel, and off we went on Saturday morning at 5 in the morning. We got picked up, and it was pretty ridiculous, I thought, for a tour guide company to pick you up at 5 in the morning and say that breakfast was included, and breakfast wasn't until 9. And they didn't say like, we'll bring snacks in the morning or anything. You'd think if the tour's starting at 5 in the morning, you'd start the tour, get everyone together, go straight to breakfast, and then you'd start driving. But we just got everyone met at the van, and off we went on this journey to El Mirador. And it was just like, are you freaking kidding me? 4 hours, three and a half hours by car to Carmelita on this bus or this shuttle, and it was a very sketchy shuttle. It definitely broke down on the way back because we had a whole nother shuttle 5 days later with the same company, so they obviously were having some huge difficulties, and we pulled over multiple times to check the wheel bearing that was causing some issues. So it's a bit of an interesting drive out there, and then we got started on the trek, and the guide who booked me on the trek, the tour agency, said I had to go buy shoes because I'd only had these Birkenstocks. And just to prove to you guys how ridiculous it is, I've got holes in my Birkenstocks. They're quite damaged, but they were already this way. These are the only shoes I brought, and so I ended up trekking 100 kilometers in and out of El Mirador with my Birkenstocks, both of them still in one piece in my books, and I can still wear them. So it was quite an awesome ability to walk with sandals, and it was pretty flat and dry, so didn't have to deal with having to trek through mud or anything like that. It was a pretty tame terrain at the end of the day, and beautiful jungle. I mean, getting a chance to walk out basically 50 kilometers off of the dirt roads in Carmelita and deep into the jungle of Guatemala to see an area where like there used to be, anywhere from a couple tens of thousands to a million. There was numbers being thrown around all over the place. At the end of the day, I mean, there was a huge population of Mayan people that were living in a very sophisticated manner, or a very like developed manner, I guess, in the jungle where I was. And you know, you had all these hills in the middle of this flatland jungle, and all these hills were just temples that and ruins that they hadn't undiscovered yet. And you could see, you know, outlayings or like maps of these cities, and then the tour guides were explaining to us, and you get going and you see that they had sophisticated hydraulic systems and all of these crazy things that, you know, we have today, and yet they seem to have lived thousands of years before us with the same systems. And we came over to their continent and we just completely wiped them out and pretty much obliterated their culture, which I think is just probably the saddest thing that I keep coming to when I keep going to these ruins, or I keep going on these trips down south, or even in my own home country. I mean, like, you see the culture that would have existed without colonization, and I think it's really sad to see that humans had to conquer an area, and they had this determinism where there was this power or these regimes that they still exist today, and they go into parts of the world and they conquer them. Like, there's something there to be conquered, not going with an open mind and an open heart to learn about what it is that they do, and instead they just destroy the entire environment in the name of, you know, whatever it is that they're pursuing, and they don't stop to think that maybe the other people have a valid point of view. And I think it's really cool that these Mayan people, you know, they were very advanced and they had very like good roots with the nature that they surrounded themselves with. They had very sophisticated agricultural practices, and they were very spiritually engaged, and very aware of the journey that like the entire planet was on back then and still is on today. So I think, like, for me, that was pretty touching to go and basically nestle myself in there. So you trek 2 days out to this huge complex, and then basically you spend a day exploring the complex, and then you come back for 2 days and you go on the same trek. I tried to do the 6-day trek where you'd kind of do a different loop. It didn't work out, which is not the end of the world. Like, that's just the way life goes. And I ended up getting a chance to hike with a German couple and this English guy named Jay, who is quite a interesting fellow, to say the least. He's shone a lot of light on kinds of people there are out there in the world, and the ability to think you know a lot and kind of be dumbfounded by the fact that, you know, most people don't know very much. And we had some very good conversations together as a group, and there was a young group of Dutch girls that were hiking with us as well, and it was just a pleasant experience to be hiking and taking some time away from the computers and chatting about life, what people do, what we should do, what the problems are, and what everyone kind of rallied around thinking the solutions were. And I mean, maybe it's all just everyone's talking and nobody's walking, but for me, it's really empowering to just have those conversations with people, and, you know, not shy away from those conversations, and really challenge people in their viewpoints and challenge your own viewpoints in those conversations as well. I think the most notable thing about trekking through the jungle, as far as like views and everything and experiences for me the last week, was basically we get out there, so we walked, 15 to 20 kilometers a day, or 25, whatever it was, just cruising at like 5 kilometers, 6 kilometers an hour on this flat road or flat trails. And you'd get to the bigger pyramids, and you'd get to climb up them, and then you'd look around and you're in the middle of nowhere. You're like, 8 kilometers off the freaking Mexican border in Guatemala. Like, pull out a map and check out where that is. It's pretty much in the middle of nowhere, and all you can see as far as the eye can go is jungle. Like, no sounds of cars, no sounds of planes, just jungle. And I think that was something that was super refreshing. I mean, you go deep into the wilderness of Canada, and sometimes it feels like you can still hear the planes droning in and out because there's money, so there's people who can fly planes, or there's planes being flown because the country has more money. But here, you didn't hear planes, you didn't hear cars, you heard nothing flying overhead, nothing driving underneath. And You know, it was just blissful to watch the sun rises and sunsets up on top of these pyramids. And eventually we got to El Mirador. And El Mirador Pyramid, El Dante. El Dante is the largest pyramid that exists by volume. So I don't know how they calculate all these things and biggest blah blah this that. Doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it was really just an experience to walk, 30-40 minutes to cross this Mayan city and to get to this temple where, you're walking up this temple. It's like 72 meters or something or more. It was like 172 meters. It was a huge, huge temple. And you walk up to the top of this thing, and all you can see is jungle everywhere. The breeze and the wind, toucans and monkeys flying below you, and climbing trees below you. And you sit there and you're like, wow, these people built this thing thousands of years ago, and we know nothing about why, because we came over and we burnt their books and we just savagely, disseminated our culture into their culture, and we removed everything that we would have known, and now we go back and we have to do all this work to rediscover what the Mayans were all about. So I think that was pretty interesting experience for me to go 5 days out into the Mayan ruins, and you'll see photos. The photos aren't finished. There's nothing out there that's finished. It's all very raw and rugged. And so I came back and into Flores, and the next day I went to Tikal. And Tikal is one of the more world-renowned Mayan ruin sites, and it's very well finished. A Star Wars scene was shot there, and you'll see those photos compared to the Mirador photos, and it's like, okay, now you can put into perspective what El Mirador would have looked like had they, have they, or will they have put it back together the way it was. It is just ridiculous. Tikal itself was absolutely stunning to see these finished buildings that they had reconstructed and built the way that they should be built and the way they would have looked back in the day, and to just think wow, these people lived here. I would live here. It's just sitting there it was majestic. I would live amongst temples made of stone and structures made of stone where people we're so connected to the land, and in a much simpler time, it just kind of takes you back for a moment and lets you slow down. And that's pretty much the whole purpose of this week that I've been spending away from everything, all of the cameras, all the technology, phones, you name it. I basically took it all off and put it all away and went walking. And even in Flores, I haven't been, I've been in the city, but I haven't been in front of my phone or camera or computer or anything really much. Maybe a few hours literally here or there just to talk to some friends, and other than that, it's been an absolutely amazing week, slowing down and just reflecting back on the journey that I've gone on since landing in Costa Rica about 7 weeks ago, and just exploring Central America this time around. It's been a really special experience for me, and now I'm off to Mexico, up to Puerto Vallarta, to see my brother, my sister, my dad, and his new girlfriend or girlfriend's family, Sharon, and yeah, it's going to be quite an experience. Totally different style of travel, but this experience backpacking and working through Central America has been definitely one for the books, and I hope you guys enjoyed all the stories I told along the way. So that's all I'm going to have to say for now, and that's the end of another one take video. We'll catch you guys on the next adventure.